Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And today I'm going to let you all know exactly why I play my free-to-play account even, and why it is so darn rewarding, at least when it works out and it's not making me want to tear my hair out. So, my free-to-play account, this is not my main one. I started this back in 2018 because it was suggested to me that I didn't know what the new player experience was. And while I can't, Men in Black my brain and then erase my memory and then go and experience the game for the first time, what I could do, at least 4 years ago, was go and start a brand new account and give myself the handicap of not actually spending any money at all on the account. And to this day, I haven't. Now, I've got the account into a position using mission marathons, that I've got lots of premium tanks on the account, and I've got some pretty good vehicles as well. I'm starting to get multiple tier 10 tanks on the account. But I've kept the essence of the account alive by making sure that A, I don't ever spend any money on it, and I only take part in events or use opportunities that everyone can use inside the World of Tanks community. I've had to reject lots of people sending me gifts to this account as well. Pains me to do so, because you should never look a gift horse in the mouth, right? But it would kind of defeat the whole point if I could then gain an advantage because of who I am on this account. You think I'm willing to sacrifice the 10,000 games or so that I've played into it or sacrifice its integrity? No. And the second thing that I'm doing to try and keep this account free to play is I'm not ever using any premium consumables. And so when I play ranked, when I play onslaught, I don't do it with premium consumables to see if, because for me, the premium consumable usage, everyone can use premium consumables, sure, but it kind of gets to a stage where there's no way for you to use premium consumables and play above tier 8 without having A, a premium account, and B, being willing to play the occasional premium tank to be able to afford that 10,000 credits per game, even if you only use one premium consumable, and that's if you're buying them at a discount. Instead, I make absolute bank on this account by selling all of the premium consumables, and it's what's helping me to finance getting a lot of the tanks. I only just realized how brutal the game is with regards to credit expenditure. On my main account, I don't have anything left to buy, and I always have about 6 months before a new tech tree is added in, and I've got more than enough time to be able to grind credits in Frontline or grind credits in a Christmas event with credit boosters and premium tanks, and at the end of the day, I can make credits if I can be bothered. Whereas on the free-to-play account, if you don't have premium time, even premium tanks don't even seem to really make that many credits. One thing I will say, and this is that there's never really been a better time to be free to play in World of Tanks compared to the last year. And you might be going, whoa, what QB are you talking about? You're crazy. There's more OP tanks than ever. Sure, there are definitely more OP tanks than ever that not all free-to-play players or any free-to-play players will have access to unless they have a lot of time to be able to grind mission marathons as they come out. And that's not sustainable for a lot of the player base, like 90% of the player base. However, what I will say is that the introduction of the Battle Pass, while it definitely has kind of increased the pay to win with regards to the equipment that players use, what it actually has done as well is enabled a lot of premium time for free. And taking advantage of things like the monthly Twitch drop tokens that you can get on my stream every Monday and Friday, you can actually then purchase the premium days using those monthly tokens on days where you know you've got a lot more time. One of the best ways to play if you're a free-to-play player that I've found is, for example, I'll always try and pop a premium day on my Sunday stream. And because I stream early on a Monday, that means that I'll get to have the premium time for the evening on the Sunday and also on the Monday morning up until that 24-hour period ends. And so accordingly, you can actually use the 5 3x boosts on the first day, and then the 5 3x boosts on the second day, as well as get all of your daily doubles, and it allows you to make some real good progress. You can combine this with Battle Pass, the Battle Pass as well, and what you can do in the Battle Pass is you can actually jump around the different chapters and then be able to activate a chapter just as you're about to get a premium day, maybe for you when you come home from work on a Friday, and then you can enjoy that premium time all Friday evening, and then maybe on Saturday late morning or early afternoon, depending on when you're getting up, right? How much of a degenerate you are. But then again, thinking about it, if you're probably going to work on a Friday and coming home, yeah, you're probably on some kind of a more normal time style compared to filthy gamers, like full-time gamers like me, right? And so there have been so many more opportunities to get premium time. Whereas if you think about it, 10 years ago in World of Tanks, the only way that you were able to get premium time was maybe like 1 day a year at Wargaming's special events, like their anniversary, or maybe the actual anniversary of World of Tanks rather than of Wargaming. But so, I honestly think that if you're a free-to-play player who's a little bit savvy, there's actually never been a better time to be free-to-play in World of Tanks. And so I have to give credit to where credit is due to Wargaming. And I hope that they don't listen to me now and thinking like, oh, we're being too generous now to the free-to-play players. Time to turn those premium days down. No, because I think that what they do as well is they probably turn a lot of the more casual players into more paying customers. And there's no doubt about that for Wargaming. So, the free-to-play account. Why do I play it? Mostly for the challenge and the experience again, to stay relevant with all of you free-to-play players out there. I should imagine that about half of the players probably don't spend money on World of Tanks ever, or at least every month, right? Or making purchases throughout the year. Maybe they'll buy one of those special premium tanks and then play with it for a few years. I think that is at least half the player base, at least in my opinion. So how can I sit here and say that I know what most of my audience or half my audience are going through if I'm not also going through the same things? And then hopefully then I can come back and be able to give you like real advice, either be it through YouTube videos or specifically as well with my stream. I think honestly there's far less highlights on my free-to-play account than on my main account, as you would understand. I don't have nearly as good crews. I'm not using premium consumables. Quite often I'm grinding stock tanks instead of playing elite vehicles with the field mods. And I don't have bond equipment on any vehicles apart from some of the tier 10s, which I only ever really play in competitive game modes. And so, quite a lot of the time, the highlights aren't happening on the free-to-play account, they're happening on the main account. But as we can see here, we're going to see a couple of games today where there are some distinct highlights. While I've been talking and trying to give you all my rationale for the free-to-play account and giving you some big tips as to how you can use your premium time if you're a free-to-play player and be extra savvy, I've managed to destroy half of the enemy team in the IS-2. This vehicle actually took me by big surprise. I know it's just a generic, with the equivalent of an IS, with a, oh, I'm lucky there that I didn't manage to get caught. I'll tell you one thing I love is not having to use my my repair kit on my fuel tanks because I actually have a fire extinguisher on this account. What a luxury. But this vehicle is basically like an IS that also has a bit of an angle on its front plate, which is better because it's less flat. But it does mean that there are less kind of bouncy plates against higher pen rounds, so you've got to watch out for that. But we've managed to vanquish 9 of the enemy team here. And luckily for me, the SU-152... Oh, you can see I looked. I was like, oh no, am I going to get a Pools medal or am I not going to get a Pools medal? And unfortunately, it doesn't look like the World of Tanks gods allowed me, as the Comet manages to finish them off. And oh, darn it, we're only going to have to end up with 9 kills on the IS-2 here. But an absolute ruffle stomp of the enemy team, some lovely blind fires earlier on as well. And this tank seriously ended up surprising me, and for some reason, maybe I was just in a good mood when I was playing it, I ended up with some of my best statistics on the account overall in an IS-2, probably the last tank that I thought that I would do well in. But this is one of the reasons why I love playing the free-to-play account. I would never play an IS-2 on my main account unless you all voted for it during the poll tanks, but it's that variety. The reason why I got addicted to World of Tanks in the first place was because of the variety of the game. It combines so many different genres. You've got like an FPS kind of vibe with the aiming. You've got that kind of like RTS style with the way that everybody's moving around. You've got that kind of like MOBA class-based combat, which I have to admit is degrading these years, as soon you can only play the competitive version of the game if you've got medium tanks and heavy tanks. There's the collector aspect. There's also, some of the vehicles are actually real as well, which kind of gives it a real tangible to real life aspect to the game. There's all these things that just compound the game. And having the free-to-play account allows me to revisit some of those lovely tanks along the way, and also some of the ones that surprise you. The next tank, however, on the list today This definitely shouldn't be a surprise.
Can you send me to the past so that I can select another vehicle for this map?
You could send me back, Arnie, in time, but I wouldn't pick a different Tier 9 tank. This is the E75, ladies and gents, and this was my first ever Tier 9 tank back in the day. And so I was not very disappointed when I managed to get the E75 again on my free-to-play account. However, one of the beautiful things about the free-to-play account is I give myself not only a challenge by not using a premium consumable, I also make sure that I grind every tank, and I hardly ever spend free experience. The only time I spend free experience on the free-to-play account, that's a bit of a tongue twister, right, is when a vehicle will be absolutely horrendous without it. I'm thinking about, Moistion with the stock tracks. Oh, well, that's a horrible experience, driving around at about 10 kilometers an hour. I remember playing that thing stock, and it was rage-inducing. But what I try and do on the free-to-play account is grind the vehicles from stock tracks, stock engine, and again, there's never been a better time to actually play tank stock, because you can use durability devices to be able to skip using the track or getting the tracks. And quite often grinding 25,000 experience to get the tracks, and then 25,000 experience to get the turret, and then 50,000 experience to get the gun can be a really painful thing. However, by using the durability device that not only increases your hit points but increases your weight load, you can skip the tracks and immediately focus on getting the most important aspect of the vehicle. And so you might be thinking, hold on, how did your E75 only hit for 360 there? And that's because I'm actually using the Tiger II's gun on the E75. I don't have that big old 128mm. I'm using the 105mm. And one thing I realized about this 105mm is that when you get into a nice matchup like this, and yeah, the games that you're seeing today, fair play, they are nice matchups, but they're two of the highlights that I've had over the last couple of months on the free-to-play account. And look, don't get me wrong, if I was in a bad matchup here, I'd probably have to spam premium rounds, and I would probably still be able to make it work, because I think I've got 285mm of pen on the premium rounds and 225 on the regular rounds. But this gun, the 105mm, actually really surprised me. It's pretty accurate at .34, more accurate than the bigger caliber gun, and its damage per minute is actually really nice, 2,373 DPM. Which is actually way better by over 10% compared to the larger caliber gun. Now, don't get me wrong, I would still recommend that you use the larger caliber gun for its 530 alpha damage and its better gold pen, which just feels like you're trading so much more cleanly with your opponents. But this 105mm, it's not bad. And again, it's one of the reasons why I play on the free-to-play account, to kind of get the experience of which vehicles are truly awful stock and which vehicles are actually playable, and where should you invest your experience or free experience, or how can you make use of advantages like top of the tree to be able to make your way up the tech tree and get those 5 times experience games. And I found that with the durability device, you can actually be so much more flexible with how you decide to elite out your tank. Of course, I'm firing a few gold rounds here at the Mauerbrecher because it looks like the 220mm of pen are going to ricochet, and I'm not stupid. Honestly, there are people who only spam gold are just as bad as people who never fire gold, because they think that they're playing the game with some kind of honor or integrity. But it's just like, I guess, me on my free-to-play account, where I've decided that I don't want to use any premium consumables. It's kind of more of a challenge, but you have to be willing to accept that and not really judge everyone else for their decision to use full premium consumables. I think it's about trying to get the most bang for your buck. With regards to with premium rounds, if you don't use them, I'm going to be bouncing 1,000 credits if I fire regular rounds, so why wouldn't I fire gold to be able to go through the Mauerbrecher's cheeks? And as long as I pen, I'm still not going to be making a huge amount of credits, or I'm going to be breaking even, but it's far better than bouncing regular rounds. And trust me on this, if any of you out there are the kind of player who will never, ever fire gold, you're doing yourself a complete disservice. As long as you're not bouncing gold rounds, and as long as you're not spamming them all the time when you don't need to, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. And quite often with your stock vehicles, a few gold rounds invested before you have the top gun can allow you to get that top gun quicker, and so it can significantly reduce your pain and your suffering. And by getting the upgraded gun or upgrading your modules quicker by investing a few credits in the premium rounds, you might end up making more credits as well, because then you start to do more damage and win some more games and you have less repair costs, and it can actually kind of compound the progress on your account. But I can't really ever justify the players who only load gold in certain vehicles. Maybe you could in an FE405. Actually, no, I can't think of a single tank where I would justify loading only gold. As pop goes, the weasel there, the E75, gets decapitated by his opposite number. Because with intuition, there's really no excuse. Maybe back in the day, if certain tanks that had APCR rounds only, I guess you could load full gold because intuition didn't give you the ability to switch quickly. But now, with up to only a second for being able to switch a shell out on some of the guns in the game, and even at worst 4 seconds, you can easily be able to adjust your ammunition on the fly to be able to use the right round for the job. And once again, one of the best times to be a free-to-play player from that perspective. And I think it's just about using all of these tools in your arsenal. And they're things that I definitely wouldn't have thought if I hadn't played my free-to-play account constantly over the last 4 years. And so I guess the conclusion to why I play my free-to-play account, well, it's definitely to remain relevant with all of you free-to-play players out there. Definitely so I can give you better advice. Thirdly, for the content on Twitch, after you've played the game for 10 years, you want to maybe just, it's quite actually fun to unlock modules on vehicles. But I think one of the biggest reasons why I play the free-to-play account, it's definitely for the challenge. And it's when you have these big boy magic games, where it's not because you had every advantage, but because, I guess, you played better than your opponents, even without having a top gun. And that's where it feels just so rewarding and a little bit of World of Tanks magic. This kind of sucks at the end of the game here, but how often are you doing nearly 7,000 damage in an E75? And I've run out of regular rounds, and I'm having to fire gold rounds here in situations which I really wouldn't want to. But what a round for the E75. I think I had a bit of like a celebration there, like, wow, we got this. And then I thought, well, hey, maybe we can actually pre-aim for where the artillery is going to be. Yoink! As we yoink our top gun for our 6,900 damage. And in essence, this is why I play the free-to-play account. It just feels so much better when you have gigantic games of World of Tanks where you've done it not because of paid advantages, but because you can play the game, at least occasionally, and maybe in a good matchup. But I'd be doing you all a disservice if I didn't admit that. So the first game for the IS-2 was a Radley Walters medal, a steel wall, a high caliber, and a top gun for the 9 kills. Why did I say top gun? I mean, Radley Walters medal is better than a top gun. That's 1,818 base experience. And that's just shy of 12,000 XP. And while I fired a few gold rounds because I ran out of regular rounds, we still make a very meaty profit. We follow that up with a game in the E75, a steel wall medal here for blocking 4,700 damage. This baby still got it. And I don't mean me, I mean the E75. The E75 still got it, that's for sure, even after I've played it about 11 years ago. A high caliber for the 6,900, nice, damage, and a top gun for those 6 kills. And unfortunately, this is the problem here, when you don't have a premium account, which I didn't, I only get 3,200 experience for this mammoth game. Oh, that's horrible. And yeah, I lost 15,000 credits before we incorporate the fact that I used a few regular consumables. And that's because I ran out of my regular rounds. But again, an investment. I lose a few credits to get a big chunk of XP that will help me to be able to unlock the gun faster. And once I get that big gun, then I'm not going to need to spam gold. Although, actually, in fairness, I only started spamming gold because I was doing so much damage and ran out of my regular rounds. I would have probably made a very decent profit if I'd only done 5,000 damage in this game. Ruthless stuff, right? And that's the economy. And now imagine if I'd taken into account premium consumables there as well. Yeah, the mind boggles. The mind boggles. And my heart goes out to all of you free-to-play players out there who do suffer through this game. And really, one of my biggest recommendations to all of you is be as greedy as you can. Hoard those premium days from the Battle Pass. Hoard those activatable premium days that you can get from Twitch drops by watching streams like mine, amongst all of the other cool resources like, albeit non-Brothers in Arms Santa Claus, and also the Panzer 7 style. And then the most important thing, take satisfaction in your victories, my free-to-play friends. Because when you start smashing those 1,600 base experience games, when you start smashing those 1,800 base experience games in tech tree tanks that aren't even fully upgraded, yeah, then you'll know that you've really made it, and not because you paid to get the results. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments what you think about playing the game for free. And are you a free-to-play player? Have you ever spent any money on World of Tanks? And do you have any tips or tricks for free-to-play players out there about how they can avoid some of the pitfalls? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.